Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I'm joined here, as always, with superfan Devin Circus and Jake Circus of the Jake Circus podcast, and this is Jungle Talks Draft Preview Show. Yeah, all right, here we go. This is an exciting thing. I love the draft. So, um,
Absolutely.
before I forget, Jake does some amazing podcasts. Jake, tell them where they can find your stuff.
Jake Circus podcast on Spotify. Season 5 will be up around a few months. I mean, we're in the off season now, so there's not much going
Yeah.
on.
Well, good. And then, hey, did you have Rory? Were you on Rory for the? I know you're gambling. Oh, I bet him last day. I thought about betting him coming up the board day 3, and he teed off before I got to my computer. So, but I did have him against. The only thing available at that point, the match. I did have him against DeChambeau. So,
Yeah, Jake, did you have any bets on Rory or against Rory or anything?
No,
Oh, really? Really?
okay.
this is not a golf show.
No, it's not as good. But we do have a gambling element, so that's why. And if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. Just support the channel. It's a show by fans for fans. So please just hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you know when our episodes go up. We will be doing a draft recap, and then like Jake said, we're in the off season, so it's we go with the news. So speaking of news. We'll cover a few pieces here. We have this incredible track record of we do a show and big news breaks, and sometimes it's not huge, but news breaks right after we do the show. I mean, we did a show in February, and Sheldon Rankins got released. I mean, literally hours after, and we would have talked about that. But so we did a show Friday, and then on Sunday talking about how the Bengals are going to have to overpay and pay more now for T and Chase and all that, and then on Sunday the contracts got announced, and then they were formally announced. So we did get T and Chase, which was our goal. Still waiting on the Trey outcome. So there could be big news. We're doing a show right now. Trey Hendrickson could get his extension, within days because we're doing our show. So we just have that kind of track record. And then the last thing I have, I'm not going to talk about, like, I know we signed Whitehead, but if Whitehead becomes a relevant signing during the year, we're in big trouble. So I don't spend time not talking about that, but the stadium situation was interesting. Bengals kind of posturing, threatened to move. Now they're asking for some bond financing for the renovation. So we'll see how that all plays out. But that's all I have in the news that I thought was relevant since our last show. You guys got anything to throw in?
The only other thing I saw, and I'm totally blanking on his name, one of the guards that were projected the Bengals to be interested in. Not sure if who's the one that was with Minnesota the last couple of years. Brandon. Jake, come on.
Jake, help him out.
No?
What? The Minnesota?
Yeah, there was a guard that. Risner, yeah. He had a video where he talked about the 3 or 4 teams that he's considering and that he's visited, and he listed the Bengals, and he's one of those guys that would be fine as a kind of a competing in training camp for a starting position type of guard.
Right.
He's currently better than any left guard that we have.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
I mean, he's a good player, but he's better than what they have.
Scherf is still out there too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So, well, I don't like to. We're going to do a draft analysis, and I don't really like to. I always use the word paralysis by analysis. I mean, you can beat your head up against the wall, especially when you're drafting in the middle of the first round. If you're a top 5 pick, you could say, hey, we're going to get one of these 5 guys, and if someone falls, we'll take this in the second. But we're not in that situation, thankfully. So I just don't like to go beyond this. We can talk about maybe a sleeper that we're looking at, but I don't really like to go beyond the second round. I don't think it's productive. Like I said, the draft is so fluid. There's going to be people that fall that we don't expect to fall, and there's going to be people that teams reach, and it changes the whole order of things. I saw something interesting today. Do you know that for the first time, and I don't know in how many years, every team has their first round pick. There's been no trades.
Really?
So right now, as we sit, every team has their first round pick in order. Doesn't happen often. Usually, teams have traded them away or whatnot, or there's already been jockeying where teams have traded up. We have not had that. So, I don't know if we're going to see some trades coming up, but that's kind of an interesting note.
Kudos to the Rams. They haven't had a first round pick in
Oh,
about
I know that to join the dance here.
and
Finally.
Broncos and the Panthers are finally back after the Bears trade. The Broncos
Yeah.
are back from the Russell Wilson trade.
Yeah, so it's like I said, it's the first. I just noted that I read that I think this either this morning or yesterday that this is the first one of the first in a long time where everybody's sitting on their first round pick. 17, we're kind of in an interesting situation in that we're because we just missed the playoffs, so we're in that top 7, top 18 picks. You know what? We have to see what falls to us. I personally think we go defensive tackle or edge rusher first round.
Have to.
I can't see us not. And I think whatever we don't take in the first round, we take in the second. The person, and I'm not throwing out any new name here, but I would really like to see Mike Green there for us. I really would. I don't know if he's there. He's projected to go like around 13, 12 or 13. We're 17. We're not far off. People jump up for quarterbacks. There's a run on a certain position, but Mike Green is somebody, he's really the only edge rusher I think that I think I would take at 17. I think there's tackles I like other than him, and we'll get into the tackle position. But if Mike Green's not there, I think we go defensive tackle. But what are your thoughts here, guys?
I like Mike Green a lot. Had a great Senior Bowl. I kind of fell in, I'm not going to say in love. I fell in like with him at the Senior Bowl. I think he'd be great. High energy, high motor guy, gets to the quarterback, played at a smaller school, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You see plenty of guys come from small schools and succeed. The biggest thing is the Bengals have a prototype, have a type of edge that they draft, and they live and die by it, and they've done more dying by it in the draft than living by it. And it's the big guy. It's the 6'5", 6'6". Michael Johnson, Miles Murphy, they've got to be big, and Mike Green does not fit the Bengals type at all. I kind of mentally crossed him off of my list of who I wanted them to take because, unless Al Golden's going to come in and change that entire model, the Bengals are not going to draft Mike Green. I hope that's at least a possibility. Mm-hmm. I love him too, and I think he'd be a great pick at 17. There's a decent chance he's there. But unless the model has changed with Golden, the Bengals won't draft him.
Right.
Mike Green's he's not small. I mean, some of these, he's not like 6'1", 245 like some of these guys are. He's not like small. He's not one of the biggest guys in the class, but he's not small by any means.
No, I know, but everything I saw is he, and from the Goodberry types that know more than me,
right?
He does not fit into what the Bengals would draft. Hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully he's great. But that's the fun part of the draft is we could sit here and want something and then be disappointed when it doesn't happen, but maybe we were dead wrong and they took a good guy, or be really excited when they draft the guy that we want and he's a complete bust. That's the fun part of the draft. So I don't know. I like Mike Green. My number one guy is Walter Nolan Jr. from Ole Miss, more of a middle of the line, defensive tackle type. Guy's an absolute monster. Early in the draft process, there was talk of him, not making it to 17. It looks like he might. I think he's great, and that's my guy.
I like that you transitioned over to interior defensive linemen. We're looking at that. We gotta figure out something and get Reader in there, and that's why if we didn't go Mike Green, or he's gone already, I had Nolan and I had Grant from Michigan. Those two right there. I think we're better off going that route because everybody else at the edge rusher position, I think, is a day 2 pick. all the other, and I can list five other people that I like. But if Mike Green's the only one I could see us taking at 17, if we don't take him, then I like Nolan. He was actually my number one because I don't think that Graham's going to be there for us. So I like Nolan.
You talking about Mason Graham?
So yeah,
You
I
talking
mean,
about Mason Graham?
yeah.
He's going top 5.
I know. I said he won't be there for
Oh
us.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's why I was skipping, guys. I'm not going to. We're not. No, we didn't even mention Carter. Carter's not going to be there for us. Okay,
No.
so unless we're trading up and we are very unbengal like, and we move up into the top five, so we don't even. It's not that I don't think he's a great player. At 17, he's not going to be there.
It's
I'm
not even
a
worth talking.
realist. So
We're talking about Graham. Yeah.
yeah, but I
Um,
had Nolan as my top interior lineman that I
yeah.
thought they've got him, 8-10. He could easily. There's a run on QBs. That's the thing. If teams trade up and we're going to see some shuffling,
This year,
what's that?
not this year.
What's that?
A run on QBs.
Oh well, I'm just saying you have certain players people are going to trade up. You just
Yeah.
never
Why?
know, what's going to happen. But I like Nolan too. Let's let Jake jump in because I know you're our stat guru.
Well, I have not been paying attention to much draft, but I'm looking at this right now. Why wouldn't the Bengals just take James Pierce? Like they brought him in for a visit. Like, is he gonna be there?
Everything. Well, first off, his number on his over under on draft position is 27.5.
Well,
I don't.
that doesn't matter.
Well, it's perspective.
Well,
I don't understand what happened with him. You used the comment the other day, prospect fatigue. I don't understand what happened with Pierce. I don't know if he's undersized. You and I talked about this the other day. A year ago, he was the number one prospect in the draft a year early. I honestly don't know what happened with Pierce, but Pierce is not expected to go in the top half of the first round.
meets every box. He's big.
I agree.
The
What kind of year did he have, Jake? Did he fall off this year?
No, he was like, I mean, the time I checked, it was like week 8. He was, because I had this narrative with this other pass rusher that I loved, and he was like, they were 1 and 2 in pressure rate in the country. So
Yeah, I don't
he
understand
meets
what
every
happened,
box.
but I agree.
His production
I
is
agree.
He
great.
does. It's a slight reach at 17.
I don't care.
But why? Well, that's
Like, why?
I mean, a year ago, this guy was a top 5 pick.
Well, again,
Right.
like that. James Pierce he checks every box. He's 6'5", 240. That's perfect.
Is he really?
Yes, he's got big hands. He's got long arms. The production's there. He's a 3-year college player. He's young. Like he tested great. I don't know. I don't know why James Pierce isn't.
Oh, I got it here. An AFC
Like,
director,
so like
AFC director of personnel told the writer, whoever I'm reading here, Pierce was in quote in danger of getting dropped off the board due to rising character concerns.
oh, he sounds like a Bengal already.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So not at 17, but day 2,
He won't be there at 45 or 50, whatever.
49, I think we are. But yeah. Okay. No,
Look,
like I said, it's
the Bengals are mocked. Yeah, they're Mike Green, who I don't think they're going to take him either. He also might not be there. And Shamar Stewart, who is not a first round player. I mean, I can tell you that he's not a first round player. He could
Guy
be
had
like
2 sacks or
a
something.
really good NFL player, but you can't like. I'm always like against the agenda where like you don't really care about college stats, but like, and I still think Mims is going to be a great player, but this guy has 5 college sacks. Like he has 5
Yep.
college sacks. He's not
Yep.
he's not a first round pick.
The name that is interesting, I don't know if interesting, intriguing, because it just started popping up at the last week or two, and I don't know anything about him. Defensive tackle for Oregon, Derek Harmon. I'm seeing a ton of mocks, and it's from Bengals people putting him to the Bengals. I got nothing behind it. I know nothing about him, but I'm seeing a lot of people put him to the Bengals.
Yeah, he's an interior pass rusher.
Yeah.
Good size. So 6 feet, he's bigger. I don't see any run numbers. Oh, yeah, I mean, not a great run defender in terms of what he was in college. But yeah, everything checks out here.
Okay. And then
Right.
I like Walter Nolan more though.
yeah.
Yeah, I like if we don't, like I said, if we didn't take Green or Green's not there, I would love to pivot to Nolan. I those like I said for me, and this is just my what I want, and maybe it doesn't happen, but we need to address tackle and edge rusher 1 and 2. That's where we got to go. The maybe we slip a safety in if there's somebody they might have somebody on their board that they love that they know they can get in the third round. And then there's only one safety I would look at as the kid from Georgia, Starks. But
There's talk that I've seen mocks where the Bengals could take him in the first round, and there's too many needs to take a safety in the first round.
I agree. I'm just
No, come on. What do we say every year? Don't draft for need. These guys are going to be on the team for 6 years. Like the Bengals needs will flip. They just need to hit on one draft pick. Like you draft the best players.
yeah.
The
Unfortunately, the Bengals don't do that, and they put themselves in position. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
If they take Malachi Starks and he turns into a great player, then it was a home run pick.
Yes.
You have to get good players. The Bengals are in the situation because they have not drafted good players because of this process that they do.
Because they draft the perceived
where they draft for need, and then what happens is the players don't turn out, and you have no players to extend. You just let people walk because they're not good enough to extend. Like this was the whole discourse of why people were like angry that they re-signed Higgins, saying, "Well, you need to have money to go to defense." Well, guess fucking what? They don't have any players to pay on defense.
Right.
So they're not going to go out and sign, overrated free agents for 150% markup value. Like it's just
no.
That theory is very, very well said, Jake, and I like that a lot. I'm gonna throw another name out there.
Go for it.
And it goes to your point, Jake, on best player available and not necessarily a position you normally take in the first round. Jihad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama.
Out. That's the best position the Bengals have on defense. That they can't take a linebacker in the first round. That they can't do.
Okay.
Even moving to a 3-4. He could be. Even moving to a 3-4, you don't think they need to add?
No.
Something like that.
No.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to throw a question out there. What kind of impact do you think Golden's history at Notre Dame is going to have? Do you think there's a kid, maybe middle, late, or even like in the second round, if we don't take Starks from Georgia in the first round, because he's the only safety I see with the first round grade, but you have a guy like Watts from Notre Dame in day 2 that, if Golden knows stuff about it, I mean, he could be an immediate plug-in into our system, having the history with Golden. So, I mean, I do think that we're coming off of our last group of drafts that all had Lou, chirping on what he wanted in the scheme. We have a new DC, so
I'll answer that real simply, Mark. There's a safety and a linebacker, both from Notre Dame, and I think it's fairly certain that we get both of them. Excuse me, at least one of them. I think this safety is projected second round and the linebacker a little later, or maybe vice versa. But one of those two guys will be Bengals.
Yeah, well, there's two safeties that I like in day 2, and obviously Watts is one of them, and he played as Notre Dame, so I think that's gonna, like I said, we're projecting, and this is why, but we're also going off of what we've seen the last 5+ years, with Lou as our DC. Things are going to be different. There's different, there's a different brain in the think tank now.
Yep.
So
yeah, I was surprised they didn't bring Watson for a visit. He did not test well, and he's smaller. So we'll see.
But you know what? We have drafted players before that we have not had in for a visit, and they didn't have them in for a visit on purpose because that was kind of the change of mindset leaving Marvin Lewis. When Marvin Lewis was our head coach, we literally let everybody know who we were taking, and we got leapfrogged on Ragnow. We got leapfrogged on Cedric Ellis. Wound up with Keith Rivers instead. We did not keep our cards close to the vest. That's been different under the Zach Taylor era in that, like I said, we've drafted people that we never had in for a visit because
Yeah,
we
and
want
quite
people to know
frankly,
we maybe had them on our radar.
yeah, and depending on how much love, play, respect Golden has in the coaching room and the draft room, if they trust him with their lives and he says to them, we don't need to bring him in. Don't let anybody think I want him. He's our guy in the second or third round. They don't need to bring him in. And it allows them to bring one more person in because they don't need to talk to him if they trust his word type of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's
the other linebacker, Jack Kaiser. You guys were talking about
the Notre Dame linebacker?
Notre Dame?
I don't think so.
Because I was trying to think. I was like, what other linebacker would there? Jack Kaiser is like undraftable. He's like 27.
I don't think that's him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, I don't know.
While you're looking him up, there is going to be. You got to remember something. Just like free agency and all that, this is the season of misinformation. That's people are saying, "Oh yeah, well we would absolutely consider this position." Even though you have no intention of going for that position. Trying to get people to trade up ahead of you, take other guys so they fall. So there's, like I said, it's the season of misinformation right now. So, we'll have to see how things play out. I do want to touch on guard a little bit because it is an area of need for us, but I don't think we take a guard in the first round. We just don't typically do that.
No.
Yeah.
Give me Tate Rutledge in the second round, or I'm going home. I want Tate Rutledge.
So, because second round is plausible for a guard, and then third round for whatever we did get in the first round on defense. But I don't think we've drafted a guard first round since Steinbach. Has there been a guard? I don't think we. I don't. So, like I said, typically they don't perceive guard as a first round. That's been the Bengals.
There's one top guard that could go 25 to 40. But yeah, no, it's that, and that's the other issue. It is not a good guard draft.
No. But even if it was, I don't see us taking a guard.
Right.
Historically, that's not where we go. And so we'll see how that plays out. But that's why I want to throw it out there so people didn't think we were ignoring the position because it is an area of need for us. I don't see it day one, maybe day two if your needle in the haystack's there.
Yeah.
If not,
Booker is the top guy, the Alabama, I think. And then Tate Rutledge is up there. I would love Tate Rutledge in the second round. Somehow get a second round pick, wind up with a guard and defensive tackle and edge in the first two rounds.
Right.
Great for me.
Is there anybody else? Anybody was thinking that we haven't thrown out? We've thrown out a lot of names. Is there anybody we've missed that is on your mind?
There's one interest. Go ahead, Jake.
No, I just feel like that they need a right guard. Like they don't have one. Like they've proven time after time again that they don't view Cody Ford as like a starter, and I don't know why they would, unless the plan is to move Matt Lee to right guard.
Certainly a possibility. We talked about that when they drafted him last year,
right?
But that's putting a lot of eggs in a basket of something that's never been done before.
Well, they'd probably pick up someone or they draft someone later. You don't just because you need someone at that position doesn't mean you need to spend a day two pick on a guard. But still, like when you talk positional value, that's still like not as impactful as taking a interior pass rusher or certainly an edge defender or even a defensive back.
Yeah. Well, we have a new defensive line coach. Once again, there's a new brain in the think tank. So, we'll see. There might be somebody he really likes that could be a day three guy and, fourth, fifth round and fits what they're looking to do. So, we'll see. But, so I, like I said, I don't like to go beyond that in terms of because you're just beating your head against the wall. Let's just see where the cards fall. And I really enjoy the draft recap show more because we know what we've added to the cupboard, or the horse we put in the stable, and then we can kind of project on what we think we're going to do. So.
There's one other interesting thing to talk about, and I've been surprised by it. The Bengals use top 30 visits on day two running backs that even have a shot of sneaking into day one. Caleb Johnson, Trevion Henderson. I don't think they brought Hampton in, but that tells me that they're at least thinking or smoke screening or at least having
I think they're
discussion.
smoke screening because it's not an area. The offense is outside of guard. What do we need on this outside of offensive linemen in general? Because I don't mind later day three, fifth, sixth round. You have a tackle you want to add to the stable. You can never have too many big bodies. But outside of offensive linemen, what is that we need on offense? We need to be spending it on defense.
No,
So
I agree, and
I
that's
think
what
it's a
you know.
smoke
What
screen.
if they were bringing in guys like Damian Martinez, and who a lot of mocks have the Bengals taking in like the fifth round? The guy from SC, RJ Harvey, I think it is. Those are fourth, fifth round guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that might happen.
Brought in second round guys, which is intriguing. I at least wanted to bring it up, but
Yeah.
I think we'd all lose our mind if the Bengals took a running back in the second round.
If they took a running back, a receiver, or anything like that, that's not what this team needs. So, like I said, I want to see defensive tackle, edge rusher, maybe safety, first round, but and then whatever we don't get, second, third, but we have to be thinking defense on two, if not all three of day one, day two. Do we think the Bengals trade back at all at any point in this draft? Do you think because they tend to just kind of sit there and take who's ever there, unless somebody wows them because they have to trade up? That's the weird thing about this draft. I was sitting at 17. I don't know that there's anybody that someone is going. Genty wouldn't fall to where someone would trade for our pick to grab. I just don't see that kind of player. I think the first five we already know kind of. Carter, Ward. You already kind of know who's going to fly off the board. I don't see us in a position where somebody would give us a huge deal to jump because there's not that kind of player in this draft. That would fall.
I mean, look, that happens when guys drop, and you can't project or predict guys dropping unless a picture of Laramie Tunsil comes out with a mask and a bomb.
Yeah, taking bomb, yes. Which now you look at it and you go, like, who cares? The dude was smoking weed. Who cares? Who doesn't smoke weed in college? I mean, come on. So, yeah, that's we'll see. We'll see what happens. And that was something, I don't know. Did they ever find out how that picture got out there? Like who leaked it? Because someone leaked it so he would fall to them. I mean, that's not accidental. That's not an angry girlfriend leaking a photo or something. That was a deliberate move. But all right, well, we're gonna see what happens. The draft is next week, and we're doing this a week in advance, by the way. So to Trey Hendrickson, look for something big to happen over the weekend because it will happen.
I'm gonna leave you with one name, Mark. His name is Jonah. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. Savania, offensive lineman, kind of a swing tackle guard out of the University of Arizona.
Okay.
They visited with him.
Huh?
They visited with him.
Yeah. Like I said, day three, stock the cupboard with what the bargains you think that are there.
He's day two.
You think so? Yeah. So I don't know that we go offensive line, but like I said, it's we don't know what their board looks like. So all right, well, we'll see what happens. If you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. Like I said, just support the channel, hit the bell so you know when our videos come up. We do previews and recaps throughout the season. And I have a surprise for us on the draft recap show. So it'll be something I was thinking about going into the season. So I think I'm going to wait for the preview show, the recap show, draft recap, to unveil it. So make sure that you guys hit that bell so you tune in for that. Jake, tell them where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Jake Circus if you want losing golf bets. Other than that, I'll see you in August.
Okay, what about any NBA? You do the NBA Pro at all?
No.
Okay. All right. I like the Grizzlies tomorrow night, so that's my 2 cents. And when Memphis came back, I jumped on the money line Golden State because I thought they might not cover the spread, but I really liked. I didn't think there was any way Golden State was going to lose that game. So, but like I said, I'm a year-round gambler, so we do have a gambling segment. I will point out Jake gave out some amazing and college basketball picks, and he gave us a lot of college football picks during the year. So, we do have that gambling aspect we like to touch on at the end for those of you who like to indulge. So, all right. Well, with that, let's all buckle up and look for the draft and look for some news on Trey. And we will be back with you right after the draft on a recap. So, with that, I'm going to say, hoo day, everybody.
Who day?
Hoo day. Take care.